this evening's meeting?
I'll second.
Motion by Uis, seconded by Kaiser. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're on item number 5, approval of the minutes. There's 4 sets of minutes. Item A is the regular Board of Education meeting from August 15th, 2017. Item B is the special Board of Education meeting from August 29th, 2017. Item C is the annual meeting from August 29th, 2017. And item D is the special Board of Education meeting from September 5th of 2017.
Also move.
I'll second.
On all 4. A through E.
We have a motion by Kaiser, seconded by Uis. Further discussion from the board.
Yeah. Amy, did those changes, did they hit this?
They are in
Did they
this link.
accomplish?
Yes.
Okay.
There were changes based on, we hadn't seen these, this is the first time we're seeing these?
On the future agenda items, he just wanted a
Which number?
August 15th. Kevin just wanted a clarification on the statement of the 5-year plan being in there instead of versus future.
What section?
Right there, future agenda items.
Okay. Yeah.
Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as well. Item number 6 is the public forum. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues included on the school board meeting agenda. General operating rules of the public forum will be determined by the board president once the number of people wishing to speak is identified on the night of the meeting. Prior to addressing the board, please clearly state your name and address. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board this evening? Mr. Kramer, is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Mr. Kramer, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, Bernie Kramer, 2150 State Highway 153, Peplum. I give the superintendent and yourself and Director Barnes a copy of the Time magazine, and it's on the cover this time they came out with how kids sports turn pro, and the crazy travel, crazy costs, and crazy stress. And there's quite an article in there, and the reason why I handed it out is I think it's significant that in terms of today's world that we live in, and USA Today also had a follow-up article which I had printed, and you know, it's there's a certain high level of expectations. You know, when it goes way down to the lower level age, 8, 10, they have these ratings of the kids all nationwide and teams nationwide. And I'd hate to be a kid where my dad spent $10,000 or $20,000 on me, and he's looking at me, you know, you better get the job done. I mean, you know, so psychologically there's a lot going on in our society now in a lot of different ways, but sports is one of them. And then moving along here, I looked at the Mosinee Athletic Complex Master Plan. That was done years back, but it's called a master plan. And you know, with that being said, I know the school district adopted that plan, and I question the fact, should this be the Mosinee School District's master plan, or there should be some adjustment out there? I think people are waiting to hear about that. And I think if you went out in the community as it exists today, you'd be lucky to get 20% of the population that would support it. Last referendum we had, you had a field house on there. 30% supported that. So I mean, in that complex out there, I mean, I try to be pragmatic and realistic, and there's need for certain things. But I think somehow or another, the school board needs to do some kind of exploration. And then, you know, getting back to this here time job, $15 billion that's up to now and climbing every year. Just think of the money that comes from parents and grandparents running all over the country. And private corporations are tapping into it now. And I just, you know, and then in Mosinee now, the irony of the whole thing is, the last 4 years here, there's what you call a Coaches Club Fundraising, LLC. And it's fundraising, been in Mosinee for 4 years, and they're making money on kids fundraising and the community fundraising. So you can see how big this industry is getting. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Moving on to item number 7, the student board report. Ms. Bennell?
Okay, so this week at Mosinee is actually homecoming week, so it's been incredibly hectic, but really fun. It's going really well. This year's theme is Space to Victory and Beyond. Throughout the week, on Monday we had window decorating, and tonight I just came from float building, which is why I painted at me. We have powder puff, the parade, football game, and then our school dance, also planned for the week. Dress up days, on Monday, it was wear your class colors. Tuesday was dress your best because we picture day today. Wednesday's through the wormhole, back in time, dressing from your favorite decade. On Thursday, it's black hole, just complete blackout for clothing. And purple pride on Friday, as always. On Friday as well, we have our pep rally and our football game. Bob Coy in the 1967 football team will be the guest of honor as they celebrate 50 years from his first undefeated season. And also on Friday night, we will also induct Bob Coy, Troy Mahalski, Andy Gewis, and Travis Nahuda into the Athletic Hall of Fame. On Saturday at 11, we'll have our homecoming parade. We don't normally have it on Saturday, it was usually on Friday, but we're hoping to strike more student athlete and parent participation if we can get it on Saturday as opposed to immediately after school on Friday. And then our school dance will be at 7:30 on Saturday.
What time is the parade?
The parade is at 11 a.m. on Saturday, yes. For Student Senate, we've been extremely busy because it's homecoming week. So, other club news, FFA has been extremely busy. They attended the state convention, toured Cave of the Mounds, helped Edgar FFA with the tractor pull, traveled to Manitowish Waters, and pretty much set goals for the year, I suppose. It's a very long list. DECA always has a DECA week in October, which is always a really big hit with our school. It goes over really well, so we're excited for that. They also have a few socials, including an ice cream social and a football tailgate, and I've attended both. They're really, really great. They always get a lot of new members from these socials. And then the choir students, so we are doing our yearly show. It's a variety show this year, and we are donating all of the funds and profits to victims of Hurricane Harvey and Irma. So for the athletic update, football is currently 1-3 overall, 1-1 in conference with a 28-12 win over Ashland on September 8th. Volleyball is currently 19-8 and 1-1 in conference. On August 29th, the varsity and JV both won the quadrangular that was held in Mosinee. For cross country, they've had a pretty good year, they say. The boys and girls both placed second at the Stratford Invite last week. And then for boys soccer, it's 3-4 in the season, 1-2 in conference, with a win over Wausau, Newman, and Clintonville all last week.
Any questions for Ms. Bennell from the board?
What time is the football game?
The football game is at 7 p.m. on Friday.
7 p.m. Friday.
I'm just curious, how did they manage to get the parade back on Saturday?
I'm really not sure. It was proposed to our Senate, and we asked our new advisor, and she said, that's a great idea. So,
Sounds good.
that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, hopefully we can keep it like this if everything runs smoothly.
Thanks for the update. Have a great homecoming week. That was always one of the best weeks of the school year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been really fun already.
Moving on to item number 8, old business. Item 8A is discussion, update on our high school science classroom project.
I just wanted to give the board a little bit of an update on the project. So we continue to work on identifying those solutions for the science rooms. We had our third meeting. We reviewed drawings that were developed by Steve and the team. Those options have been shared with you. As part of our discussion, we also had feedback documents, and we've been sharing feedback from everybody on the committee. During our meetings, we decided that we would contact some vendors to get some numbers on that, and those numbers we have gotten back from Myron and from Ellis Stone, and they were too generic for us. So we want to flesh those details out in a greater length, and we also wanted to ask some additional questions. So not prepared to have the team come to you at this point. Matt's here, thanks for coming tonight. But it was just a little too early, and then to also talk about there was too big of a range of numbers, so we want details on the numbers. Matt
Yep.
has kind of been a part of the process. Matt, you want to comment on the process at all?
The process has been taking a look into a lot of the considerations that we discussed during the referendum of the reason of why the referendum should pass to have updates to the science rooms. And we're looking at avenues to correct and rectify all of those different issues that we have with the science rooms throughout the two different proposals that they're working on.
So we had 4, we are down to 2, so on October 23rd, we're gonna bring, now October 24th, we're gonna bring more information and the team will come forward and share that with the board at that time. We just weren't quite ready to do that tonight. That's just an update.
So you're gonna have 2 people that give you prices?
Right, so we asked C.D. Smith and we asked Samuels and we asked Ella Stone and Myron, so probably, reach back out to C.D. Smith because they were too busy to be able to, so he was gonna check with them. And then just to flush out, because the ranges were, there was a 33% difference
Yeah,
in the numbers, and so that was just too big, we had too many questions, we went back at them. There's too big of a range between the numbers of the questions, so. But I still thought it was important tonight to give you an update. The board has hired the architect to work with us, so we wanted to give you an update on what we're doing.
Matt, are we happy with progress?
yes. Yeah. At this, looking at the options that are before us, we're happy with what the two options are going
Will
forward.
they meet your needs?
One option will meet our needs better than the other. The one option is just remodeling what we have, which doesn't negate the transporting of chemicals throughout hallways and things like that where student body is at all the time. One model obviously fixes that, but it's the cost difference it's got to be weighed. So, right now,
What model was consistent with the referendum? Was it the remodel?
the remodel.
There are details on
So
this.
we have one model that does not address the safety concerns
Not all of
of
them.
transport.
Right.
Does it address the safety concerns of air and exhaust?
Yes.
How about
The
curriculum?
only, the only safety concern that's not addressed in that option is the transporting and storage of chemicals?
Yeah, the other thing that Steve mentioned to us as well is that our classrooms, the two newer ones that were built in '96, as well as the new ones that they would, according to Steve, size-wise, the two newer ones are a little small compared to what they should be to meet requirements by today's standards, and the two new ones that they would make out of the 3 existing rooms on that remodel would just meet the size requirement, which then still leaves our 5th classroom having some updates to it as well, which would meet the requirements, but the configuration of lab tables is kind of, we'll go with unique. So, in order to fit it into the classroom appropriately.
This is Mosinee, make do with what we give you.
So how about the option A, option B for any type of delivery of content, any curriculum, items that potentially can impact or improve upon our existing condition?
Yeah, with either of those updates, by having the safety showers in the classrooms, having that air ventilation, it'll increase the number and different styles of labs that we would be able to do with our students.
Additional questions from the board? We look forward to a full presentation on numbers in October.
Okay. Our team will come back.
Item 8B is discussion and update on energy efficiency projects.
So at the board meeting on September 5th, the board did approve the resolution for the revenue limit exemptions. Following our meeting, we did have a team that met with Nexus to discuss details of our projects. And during that time, they started to flesh out a timeline of activities. I asked our Hans, he said it really is 2 to 3 months of developing that timeline and what project's gonna come first and how we're gonna do it. So he is gonna come back to our November 21st board meeting. Hans is a gentleman from Nexus who presented, and he will be updating the board on it at the November 21st board meeting. And that's all I have with the energy efficiency projects.
Questions from the board regarding item 8B? We'll move on to item 8C, which is, was there a question? Okay, we'll move on to item 8C, discussion and possible decision, review of our long-term facility plan.
Kevin, I put the link up above. So in June, we reviewed our long-term facility plan, and I'm just gonna take you back to that presentation that we had, where we took a look at what our long-term facility plan was. And as part of our long-term facility plan, sorry about that, I just switched the. As part of our long-term facility plan, we identified projects that we would be working on during this school year. And I want to compliment the board, because when we took a look at, you know, where are we going to go off of our needs, we went through a discussion in June back to, you know, what was our assessment, what was our goal, and we came down. Sorry, it's not getting up to my links here. But at our final action plan, we sat and we determined what our facility audit and what our priority matrix would be. Based upon our entire matrix, what were going to be our fund balance priorities and what were going to be our energy efficiency priorities. And from June, that led us through July and August of where we approved the energy efficiency projects. But there are still two things that we are working on with our fund balance priorities. That was our special education classroom, and as you recall, that was something that was approved and completed this summer. The high school science and chemistry classrooms, the board took action on that, and we hired an architect to take a look at what the costs of that would be, and we're working on that right now. Another one of our priorities off of our matrix was the security cameras, and we have not taken any action on that at this point. So just to go back and to say, what have we done? Well, we're following, you know, that priority matrix that we have, but we have not taken any action on security cameras. And I was wondering where the board would like to go with that for this school year. That is an item that we identified way back.
Security cameras are insanely easy to install, not that expensive. They're the way of the world in most popular places, and certainly almost every major school. And we are woefully lacking in that, given the fact that we have so many holes in our security. It would be really important to me to see security cameras in place inside the school with good facilities.
For me, security of the school is incredibly important. It was something that was highlighted during our referendum, our failed referendum. Ducked a few phone calls from the media already asking, well, we get a referendum failed, what have you done to secure your entrance? So to me, it's a larger issue than just security cameras. It has to do with securing our entrances and exits, and how do we make sure someone just can't walk into the school or be wandering around in the middle of the day. But I agree with you, Corey, that cameras are cheap in the grand spectrum of things. I'd like to see a plan for what are the security needs and what are some options to be able to address those, which would include security cameras. What's that?
We've got them.
Yeah, I thought we put a bunch in there.
We've got all that identified through all the referendums been through on the matrix of needs. That's all on there.
I think that the solutions to securing our entrances and exits of the school in the referendum might be a different solution that's come up with without a referendum to accomplish the same thing in a cheaper way.
Can you say that simply?
Sure, you don't have to have all the things that were built into the referendum to secure our entrances and exits to our schools. The infrastructure was a lot more complex with the referendum. You can find providers, quite honestly, locally here that can give you proposals that would include camera systems and other suggestions that could be very economical. I would be the first one to tell you, Cory, I think it's going to be ugly, but I think it prevents someone from walking into our school to secure the entrances.
I'm all for it. I'll spend the money today. Any amount of money we spend on that saves any future incident.
It addresses risk, and we have risk.
Yes, we do.
Something we talked about in our most recent agenda planning meeting was, we have this list of priorities. It's probably something the board should look to visit annually, just to make sure our priorities are still in line with what we think they should be. I think some of the calls that Matt received from the media were cause for concern, and they wanted to address security specific to the Mosinee School District in lieu of a failed referendum. So again, that's just talking to one item. I don't know what the fourth and fifth items were on that list. Annie has it up here. It's probably something we should look to do annually as a board, though, as we knock some of these projects off. Plan for the next one. So, Ann, you had identified security. Were you looking for an answer from the board on that being our
One of the
our
things
next?
one of the things we identified back in June, what are we gonna do for the school year? So as we were planning our budget and our resources, what are we gonna do? Brent was gonna investigate the prices of the new IP cameras in all schools. A new IP camera system should be installed. That was identified in the CISA report of one of the things that we needed to do. I guess I wondered if the board wanted us to come forward at the, in the future with what those costs are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just on cameras or on our security needs to secure the schools?
Well, I think that that's a whole nother agenda item, or a whole nother thing. I'm just going off of what our facility plan, CISA identified that the existing system doesn't cover critical areas, and the cameras that are in place are old analog cameras that are in need of replacement. A new IP camera system should be installed, so that I'm just going off of what our facility's priority matrix was.
So where was the priority on just the overall site security with the amount of entrances and controlled entrances? Because this was in order of importance as ranked by the board
Yeah.
over the course of our facility planning meetings.
Can you scroll the screen, Ann?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong. I'm scrolling and I apologize. And remember that the rankings were done by the engineers that came through. And the team, the CISA team.
We just approved their ranking, we didn't rank them as a board, correct?
Well, at the board at the time, you know, there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of conversation with that CISA.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? There was a lot of conversation about it. And there was a total number of points that were assessed to each item.
I'm kind of along with Matt. I think that, you know, there's definitely got to be some investments, quite honestly, in our security here in general. The cameras would be a piece of the puzzle, but I think having a plan of other ways of helping us with security would be to our advantage
So just-
to understand that before we spend.
So we're at total point 14, fencing at the high school could be in good to average condition with the exception of some sections have been damaged around the football field and the fencing around the outdoor pool is deteriorated. Full fencing should be considered for replacement. Security issue. I can't believe our site security overall wouldn't have a higher ranking than a small piece of fencing at the pool. So I'm thinking there's elements of our site security that maybe weren't covered
Sure.
in the matrix, and that's where we might have to expand upon simply the security cameras when we really look into what's necessary to secure the school.
I guess one question I'd have for you, Ann, and maybe you know the answers, who might be a resource to look at? I mean, for me, personally, I think the elementary school's in pretty good shape. You can't just walk into it. But for the high school and middle school to say, okay, here's your ideal, safe, like, here's what you ideally would have, so that we can take that, which would probably include security cameras, would include some access control of some type on the entrances, that they be secured, and procedures put in place to monitor the other doors or do that. Like, is there a entity that does that type of work for
I mean,
districts?
you can have people come and do that for sure, so.
Is that something
bring that.
CISA or,
Or there's other agencies that will come in and do an
There's
assessment.
private providers that do that.
There's private providers that do as well.
Well, we can talk about it all we want, but there's only 4 board members that seem to have any interest in the subject. So, I mean, they beat that vote by having 4.
I think we have
We're
4
listening diligently.
board members
That's
who
the
are
out of it.
vocal on the subject, 5 who are
Consuming.
kicking it in. So I'll make a motion that we look at, as part of our long-term facility plan, a broader look at site security beyond what's identified in the priority matrix.
I'll second that.
That'll take in our security at our door entry level.
Yes, all site security as a whole.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion from the board. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we did have full board support. What else do we want to talk
Got
about
to
on
know it by the discussion.
8C?
Can I ask for some clarification on that? So we'll take a look at that. Would you like me to bring that back as part of the report, or would you like this board to have a committee, or have board members on that? Would you like to ask if we have volunteers that'd like to be a part of that, and then inform that and come back, either at the October or the November board meeting? What format? Me and my team, or part of the board?
do you see hiring a consultant to come in on that?
I see sitting now and people like you in discussion about that.
Yeah, well, if pheasant hunting in October though, I hope it's not in October.
So bring it back.
Well, we have
Or our
some,
team can bring you forward your ideas. Would you like us to do that?
I'd be more than happy to participate with your team and, or provide people to participate on your team that have some expertise in that realm.
Could I just ask what Mosinee, he's on, he would have some.
Yes. Yeah, he definitely has some opinions on that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think some of the services that CISA may have, that may come
Sure.
as a service to the district,
Right.
might be very good as well.
Okay.
So at this point, let's understand our options and then we can find that direction.
Okay. Okay.
Did you want anything else on that item, Ann?
No.
Moving on to item number 9, new business, discussion and possible decision, approval of the 2017-18 strategic planning, elementary school improvement goals, middle school improvement goals, high school improvement goals, and district focus for the 2017-18 school year.
So I'd like to apologize that we do not have our elementary, middle, and high school principals here. They are attending a graduate class. However, we do have Jeff, and we do have Scott that are here and present, so we appreciate you being here. We know that you've gone through a number of things with your staff already, and maybe you can share some of that as we go through. But what I really just wanted to share, I know that the public has seen this as well, to talk about what we challenged our staff to do this school year. And really, here we go. Really, I think it's very important that we take a look at how we set our goals for the school district and how our individual teams sit down and set their goals. It really goes off of what the board does, in that the board really, as we start with the staff, they, you make sure that we have defined goals and committed actions, and that we are transparent to you and accountable to you, and making sure that we are continuing to try to improve our student success. So the scores mean a lot to us, they really do. But our staff, what was really important to me, as we looked at our staff, is we really have, several hundred people working together. And the biggest thing is that I asked them to be curious this school year, to really be curious, because understanding why we have X amount of students that read at a certain grade level, and maybe we have 9 that do not, will really require the ingenuity and the creativity of the staff that are serving them. So this is how we started our year. was to really ask the staff to question what if, to explore the possibilities, be curious and ask why, and just be relentless in that our goal is to have every student be college and career ready by the time they leave our school district. So with that, they sat in a data retreat for 3 days, but really there's a lot of work that happens before that data retreat. So each team has a number of different data inputs that they look at in order to determine what their school goal is going to be. And they have to look at it from a lot of different angles, and they have to look at it with purpose and with clarity. And I know Matt and Jeff and Scott and Donna have all been a part of that. So they set an overarching goal, and the elementary has set an overarching goal. And with that overarching goal, they also develop a checklist, and you can click on that checklist and you can click on the overarching goal and be able to see what their goal is for student engagement. They have 5 areas that they focus in on. One is curriculum instruction, and assessment and data is number 2. But for curriculum and instruction, they look very close at what are the reading benchmarks for each grade level. And reading is really a foundation, I think, Donna, that your team has found and super important for them. Always a little iffy when you're setting those benchmarks, right? Always a little scary when you're setting those benchmarks. The bar is set high, and clearly they then have to have steps and stages. It's not just something that Donna's team puts out there and then it's gone for the rest of the school year. They're constantly marking and seeing where they are, and I'm assuming in September you're doing your baseline testing to see where your kids are. So are you worried now when you see where your kids are and where you've got to get them to be?
Not as much,
Okay, now that you,
but some.
but some.
A lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. So the, in the assessment and data use improvement goal, that you will administer a formative and interim summative assessments. And the formative assessments really drive what Donna's instruction is all about. So that forms her instruction for the rest that's going forward. The school improvement goal came off of the data that we take from our school perception survey. So they take apart the school perception survey, and they, in those different areas are in purple, and they decide if they're gonna choose that as a goal. Is that gonna be our goal or not? How are we doing? And then they set their goals off of that. And all of this, again, is shared with the staff at the beginning of the school year, kind of tweaked a little bit and then put out there. Elementary staff will continue to build positive relationship with school board members. That's a school board goal that they have. They have an achievement and a behavior goal as well. Strategic and family community engagement improvement goal. And really that's, the reason that's so important is because none of our goals will be achieved by just school personnel. It won't happen if we don't put it out there with the parents and the community as well. Professional learning goal is there as well. Now, all of that is tracked on a sheet of checklists for the elementary school. When you take a look at our goals for the middle school, you're going to see the same format. They have an overarching goal. Their biggest thing is to really to develop a response to intervention process. Now, that sounds like a really big thing, kind of a mouthful of things, but if you're going to respond to kids who aren't meeting your goals, then you have to have a process. When you're sitting with 700 and some kids, defining what that process is going to be for the middle school is a really big undertaking this school year. Curriculum and improvement, they want to complete a school-wide implementation review so that 100% of the staff know what response to intervention looks like and can contribute to developing an RTI framework. And our middle school team just attended their first conference on RTI, Wisconsin RTI model. In their assessment and data improvement goal, they're going to be taking a look at all the data that allows them to understand what kids need intervention and what kids do not need intervention. Their goal is to reduce students who are failing. Their school improvement goals, again, were taken off of the school perception and the survey, and they shared the discipline goal that they have, communication and collaboration goal, a climate and culture goal as well. at the middle school, strategic and family community engagement goal, and professional learning goal. At the high school, they're looking to have an increase in the college and career readiness as evidenced and measured on the ACT. Their curriculum and instruction improvement goal is all about revising and editing the curriculum maps and the assessments that they've started, and putting those all into curriculum format. It's the same, and Matt's having a lot of fun cutting and pasting right now and doing that right now. The biggest thing that's really important is that when Matt designs a unit and a lesson for his science department, he wants to make sure that what he's designing is aligned to state standards. Because if it's aligned to state standard, guess what? Our kids are gonna do really well on the state assessments. And he knows how to adjust his instruction if they're not doing well. So take a look at all that information. Assessment and data use, you're gonna analyze that and determine students that are in need of intervention. Your school improvement goal, you did a culture goal, a building leadership goal, and a student behavior goal. Matt, how did you guys decide what you were gonna do on your goals when you had your data retreat?
For most of those, we looked at the school's perception survey and based a lot of it off of that.
Okay. So just when you saw an area of need,
Yep,
your team grabbed that goal?
correct.
How did the rest of the staff kind of respond to what you chose?
They saw it as a large need too, where one of it is climate and culture for us as a staff. Compared to the first year versus now in my fourth year, there's definitely been a decline in number of things that we did together as a staff outside of the school day. So that's something we wanted to bring back, and the staff's been pretty happy with that, and we've had a large number of people attending different things.
Out of the, so it's kind of some team building?
Yep.
Awesome. Strategic family community engagement goal. I think one of your biggest things was to keep parents well informed on how their kids are progressing. How have you done that in Canvas?
Within Canvas for parents, at this time it's a lot of students sharing. We have not, if I remember correctly, Brady, we have not opened that up to parents yet. Or
Correct.
have we?
So the
It's
basic,
more the students.
It's more the
yeah,
students on Canvas.
it's really intended for students.
Yeah.
We still want to funnel people through
Skyward.
through Skyward,
And
which is
there's-
our grading platform.
Yeah, there's some reasons for that too, because not everything is done in Canvas. So not every assignment is put into Canvas. So the grade book there is not a complete grade book that parents could see. So we still try to push them to Skyward. And the other thing that's nice about pushing them to Skyward is when the teachers do move the grades, it does it seamlessly from Canvas into Skyward, then everything's there. Because the way Skyward currently works is if I was to put in an assignment and it's due tomorrow, but I'm not going to get them graded until, say, Friday, the parents see it as a missing assignment because it's past the due date. So by being in Canvas and I move it in once I have it all graded, I get a lot less phone calls from parents of, why does my student have this missing? They said they turned it in. They did, but it takes me a while to grade all 75 of these papers.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice that way as well.
Some kids even get punished.
Yeah. I got a few of those kids. I have a couple of those kids in my classes.
And can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Here? One of the things that you mentioned, and I agree with, is if you look at the state assessments and teach to the state assessments, they're going to do better on the state assessments. But are the state assessments and the ACT, which we want to see our kids improve on, are those a good measure for success of our kids in college and moving forward to achieve, you know, their academic goals? So, or are we just teaching so they get a good grade on the test
I
and then
would
we miss
say,
something?
yeah, I would say they're one measurement. You know, they're one measurement. Clearly, colleges use that because you have to have a certain score to get in or you're on a special plan. Some colleges allow students with lower ACTs in because they have special programs. Some you simply can't get into college without the right ACT score. When you take a look at the AccuPlacer and other assessments that the tech is doing, we want those two are aligned to our standards and our state standards. I think it's one indication. When students are successful, does a A mean that a kid's gonna be the top welder? Not necessarily. That's why we do the college and career readiness and the work keys as well, so work habits, and we try to assess that as well.
Thank you.
I would say our goals, you know, are truly gonna, here's what I challenge the staff with, is it's gonna force them, their curiosity, because when you look back at all of the goals and you look back at the 70 colleagues that Matt has and that Donna has working with them, in order to achieve these goals, we may not have in our action steps that we sat down and we designed with the staff, we may not have all the action steps laid out right. So it's gonna take them in order to be helpful, in order for us to be able to, I would say, find solutions to some of the challenges that we face. So when we look at the mission of the school district, we have that set. Our strategic plan really is, it's built around those 6 key areas. Student achievement, of course, and how we focus on that is really to make sure that we have excellent teachers in our schools. The best thing we can give a child is a great teacher. The absolute best thing we can do is to give a child a great teacher. And to also have safe learning environments with positive behavior interventions, mental health supports for our kids, and closing our achievement gaps through co-taught courses and interventions that respond to the students' academic and social needs. So we'll get there, we'll get to good student achievement if, like the middle school and the high school, have clear response to intervention plans, and that's what they're working on this year. Professional growth and team development is really all about an ability to foster collaboration for our teachers to continue to grow and learn from one another. That's a big piece of our compensation model. They're given points to move through our compensation model by their professional growth. In technology, we have a 5-year technology plan that we are under, that we submit to the state of Wisconsin. We are now in year 3 of our technology plan and continue to work on goals in our technology area. I should say at the retreat as well, our special ed department works as a team and our technology department works as a team, and they too, but they come forward to you at a different time to share what the goals and the updates are for special ed and technology.
In the case of a 5-year goal for technology, is that a rolling 5? So that you just don't wait till, okay, 5 years is up, now let's develop another?
That's a good
5-year
question.
plan?
So the state requires the state, cover that up, the state is a little behind the game. They only require a 2015 to 2020 plan, that's what we have.
Okay,
But we have a rolling 5-year plan, but the state just doesn't really care about what, we care about it, the state really doesn't care about a rolling plan to it.
That's why we have Brady's team present annually on his own what their goals are, what their progress is, and then he uses that Brightlight data. So we don't have a state assessment data on technology, so that's why we contract with Brightlights. And we have those 5 C's, those areas that we measure our students, staff, and parent engagement in technology. And Brady will bring that forward.
Is the student, or I should say the school report card part of the inputs for this process?
Absolutely.
The reports aren't out until November though, right?
No, but we got the forward data back. And so when our people came to, so when Matt came to the data retreat, he had the data. He had to sign an agreement though that that data was embargoed so that he wouldn't share that data. So the team can sit and look at the data, chew on the data, dissect the data. And I will say the middle school team is, 4 through 8 is really big when you're looking at all the different areas. So they had a spreadsheet on English language arts, they had a spreadsheet on science, they had a spreadsheet on social studies, all the students listed, how all of the students did, and they sat during that time and dissected, look, we've got 32 kids that aren't at proficiency level, so that that social studies team can kind of get ready for the students who are need improvement. So they know what their learners are prior to coming in. But they do have to sign that confidentiality, because we don't get those. Julie, when do we get the school report cards embargoed?
They're anticipating early November. They have not given an actual release date yet.
So in August, late August, early September, the individual report went to the parent. And they said, here's your individual student. And then the community will get how we did as a group, not until end of September, beginning of November. Our employee relations are, of course, key to us and key to all the work that we do. We always update our staff handbooks, and that was a really big undertaking this past year because our policies changed. So we went through staff training with our support staff and our employees about our handbook, and all of those changes were important. Facility stewardship, we completed looking to complete the energy efficiency projects, and develop a proposal to upgrade the science rooms, continue to work in partnership with the MCAA. Fiscal responsibility, I think we always keep that at the forefront, is that it's important to maintain a balanced budget while funding programs and services that align with what our vision and mission is. And again, I just really challenge the staff. You know, our goals focus us, and they truly are really valuable, but everybody will need to be curious if we're gonna find solutions. Each school has a checklist. When I go back through to show you just a little update on the goals checklist, there's a checklist that the staff kind of has a running, you know, this is what we said we're gonna do, how are we doing on that? We're gonna have leveled literacy instruction, Ames Web will be implemented, and at every single staff meeting, you guys go through this, and how are we doing, and what do we have yet to do? So these are the action steps that they have designed, and each school has one of these. If this is our goal, how are we gonna get it done? What steps do we have to do? And it's all framed out there for the staff. So I'm really proud of their work, although Matt sat for 3 days. That it's even longer than that. It really is, because once you start looking at that data, your head just kind of goes a little bit crazy. So the other thing, so that's an update on it. Part of the, I was going to share with the board as well. Part of the report back to the board is also I'm sorry, I've got to put this on the right agenda for us here. Why don't I take any of your questions while I get this linked in here?
I don't have a question, but I've got a comment. When we started strategic planning, it was very similar to a Model A Ford. Very crude. And I have to commend you and your staff and the teaching staff on the jobs that they are doing. I think they are incredible. At the time when we started strategic planning, there were no computers, there were no nothing. And you've taken it and evolved with it and brought it to a integral, for lack of a better word. I appreciate what you are doing.
Thank you. I think what's important for our staff, and I think what we've gotten to over the past several years, is really what's important is that Donna knows what she's going to do. Like, how is Donna's actions today going to contribute to the goals? Matt has to know what he's going to do. So Matt knows now that if he designs really good lessons that are aligned to the state standards and can look at his student learning data, he's going to contribute directly to the goal. So I think that's what's important, is that he knows what he's going to do in his classroom. And again, if all the bees in the hive don't know what they're going to do, we're never going to achieve increased student success. So I think we've gotten it down to a level of that, because you're really the worker that does all the work. Some of the background information, some of the school improvement planning that we've done, there was a lot of inputs that go into the high school framework, and there's a lot of links there for the board. But when we look at our overall staff comment as far as the school perception survey, a really good question was, well, you've got the elementary, you've got the middle school, you've got the high school, but what are Ann and Brent and Darlene and Julie working on as a district? Well, one of the things that we noticed were real red for us, let me go back to, this is just the superintendent and board. Let me go back to, one of the things we noticed was our implementation of new initiatives. So as a district, that's something that was really something that needed to improve. And that's on all of us at central office, that we have to make sure that when we roll out something, it's gotta be done much better. And we know that. And we know our plan has to be better. So we contribute as a central office to a number of the goals tremendously. The clarity of understanding funds availability, that's something that we contribute to. So we look at that, and then Brent, Darlene, Julie, and we all set individual personal goals as well. But one of the things, when I looked at what is something that I can do better as a superintendent, well, you'll see my red area presents a positive image to our community. It dropped in that area with the teachers, and so I need to do things differently. So we have a plan of things that I'm gonna work on with our team in order to do things differently. We also noticed on the staff that our support staff, so that's our custodians, that's our secretaries, there are some things that, there was a drop there, and there are things that I need to do differently as far as trust in the district leadership. So more communication and some transparency. I do listening sessions with the teachers, and I do not with the custodians. So we're thinking about, is that something we can do to improve? The other area with our support staff is the trusting in the leadership. So to take a look at that as a goal. The school board had some really great things with the teachers and some really positive takeouts from that staff report, and also things that we can always improve on. But again, it's with the support staff, and we noticed throughout the entire survey that our red areas came with our support staff. And so we're trying to put some things different in place for secretaries and custodians who make up that support staff. You know, one of the challenges we face is there's not a monthly meeting. There is with the custodians that are a day, but not with the night custodians and the weekend custodians. So different types of communication that we're going to work on. So, any questions?
Questions from the board? So this is a decision and is looking for approval.
I would so move.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Kaiser, second by Kramer. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9B, discussion and possible decision, acceptance of donation for high school concession stand from Mary Kresge.
This is an amazing project that started with our students, Carly and a number of the students. The Student Senate, works in that football and track concession stand throughout the year, and if you've worked in there as a parent, you know you're crowded. Those who work really wanted to be able to change that, so the Student Senate, led by Stacy Elson, got together and they put together a proposal to increase the current building dimensions. And kind of laid that out. We then looked at bids from several different contractors and got the exact cost for it. Once we got the cost for it, we said, well, how are we going to pay for it? And we sat down and thought the first thing that we could do is try to seek donations from the different booster clubs, maybe football, maybe track, maybe. And Stacy came back to us and said that she had approached Mary Kresge and that Mary was willing to fund the entire project. So very thankful and grateful for that donation. With the agreement to put a name on the new facility, the Kresge Concession Stand, in memory of Ed and Bill Kresge. And when you take a look at this, it would come out farther and there would also be an over...
Covered?
Yes. Yeah. And we also, they also looked at Pepsi providing updated coolers and some things for the concession stand. That project would begin right after graduation.
acceptance of the donation, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tomczyk, seconded by Thiel, to accept the donation for the high school concession stand. Further discussion from the board?
Did we choose one of the contractors to complete?
We did.
Okay, who's the contractor?
Brent,
Stefan.
Stefan.
Okay. I just see we had bids and it didn't
Yeah.
see what we chose. All right, that's all I have.
Any additional discussion from the board?
Commend the person that put this together and quite honestly approaching funding and resourcing to make that happen.
They did a great job. That team did a great job. Hats off to Stacy and Zach.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as well. Item 9C is discussion and possible decision, meeting date and agenda details with Bob Butler.
We talked about this in the past, so Bob comes and joins us and he does roles and responsibilities. I spoke to him after our meeting and he said that he would be available to discuss roles and responsibilities because in his discussion with me, he said really often confusion comes by not having good preparation and an avenue for how things get on the board agenda. So he said, I am happy to come and meet with the board and to talk about meeting preparation and for the board also to kind of do a self-evaluation of meetings and of yourself and how board meetings are run. So we need at this point to know whether or not you would like to proceed forward with that, with scheduling him to join us. Bob is available on our November 21st or our December 19th meeting. And if not, if you want a different meeting.
So for starters, the scope we're talking about here, board planning. Is that the scope we,
That's not our initial intent.
so discussion from the board?
I agree with Kevin, I don't think it was more on the preparation of our board meetings, I think it was just how we conduct ourselves during board meetings, and more with tying that into our roles and our board ethics, more than the preparation of our board meetings.
That's what I recall.
So I don't know if this would be such more of so much with Bob, because I know he does a very good job, but we also are we're looking at our board policies coming at our next month, maybe we revisit that and see if they've got changes in that one board policy, that we could look at to implement into ours. There was some, if you read all the links that we received, there's other boards that are having the same issues with board ethics.
I personally, I think I voted no on that. I don't see a Bob to come in and say that again, but that's my opinion.
Any other discussion? This is a discussion and possible decision.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it till next meeting. Put it up again, think about it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to table. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So motion passes 6-3. The ayes were, was it 4?
Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote.
Gorman,